And so now we'll have some welcoming remarks from Eagle and from the Michigan Department of Human Health and Services. I'd first like to introduce Dr. Sarah Lyon-Callow. She's the state epidemiologist and interim senior deputy director for public health administration within the department. She actually has her PhD in epidemiology from University of Michigan, and she has a master's of arts in anthropology, so I think she likes to think about people, and health in that way. I think that's fantastic. She's responsible for the administrative oversight of the Bureau of Laboratories and the Bureau of Health and Wellness, the Bureau of Epidemiology and Population Health, and Infectious Disease. So she has a lot on her plate that she has to coordinate. And so we're very glad that you've come here to give us some welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It is just so wonderful to see, people in person. How exciting is that? But also I've heard so much from the teams at Eagle and MDHHS about folks within this room. So it's really exciting to see people together and feel the energy. But I have some very nice remarks that I would like to share. So good morning. On behalf of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Go With The Flow conference. We're looking forward to the next 2 days of presentations, discussions, and networking around wastewater monitoring and its applications for public health. I'd like to take a few moments to acknowledge the partners and collaborators who have made this conference possible. First, thank you to Michigan State for co-hosting this event with MDHHS. Yes, my degree is at University of Michigan, but I live right here in town and I love MSU. Next, I would like to recognize the generous support from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention National Wastewater Surveillance System, which allowed us to conduct this conference. Another big thank you goes out to our commercial partners, Bio-Rad, Aquasite, GT Molecular, QIAGEN, Thermo Fisher, and Trace Analytic Laboratories for their sponsorship of this conference. And finally, thank you to the Planning Committee, who has been working since December to organize what should be a really engaging and interactive conference. I'd like to give some perspective on what this conference represents. In the initial stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, public health agencies were trying to obtain as much data as possible to best inform our responses and public messaging. Yet we were strapped for time, staff, and resources, and also laboratory space, do have to say that. There was also an awareness this pandemic was going to require new types of surveillance systems beyond the traditional counting of clinical cases, hospitalizations, and outbreaks. And that's where wastewater monitoring came in. Our colleagues at Eagle and Michigan State University saw the potential for wastewater monitoring for SARS-CoV-2 and helped MDHHS construct a pilot project in the fall of 2020 to determine the feasibility and utility of this approach in Michigan. After successfully sampling at 270 sites during the pilot project, MDHS continued and expanded the monitoring in June of 2021 as the SARS-CoV-2 Epidemiology Wastewater Evaluation and Reporting Network, which now samples over 400 sites each week. We've learned a lot about wastewater testing and utilization of those results during this time. Day one of the conference will reflect on those lessons learned. Even more exciting is day two of the conference will focus on where are we going and what are the next phases for public health wastewater monitoring. The fact that this infrastructure can now be maintained and utilized for other future public health applications is extremely satisfying and gratifying. To wrap up, MDHHS is grateful to those partners, both old and new, who stepped up and contributed during the initial all-hands-on-deck stage of the project and throughout its continuation. We recognize that today's Michigan Wastewater Monitoring Network was built upon a foundation of many local partnerships and relationships. Without our partners at the local health departments, laboratories, academic institutions, tribal nations, utilities and wastewater treatment plants, local and municipal governments, and a variety of other organizations, all of this would not have been possible. We'll continue to work with our partners in the legislature on scaling up support for local public health services and infrastructure. I hope that this conference gives everyone a moment to recognize all of their hard work, take stock of what has been achieved, and brainstorm about what is possible in the future. So thank you again, and please enjoy the conference.
Next, to introduce Dr. Shannon Briggs. She may not need an introduction to most of us. She's been a leader here in Michigan for many, many years, and we're just so fortunate to be able to work with her and have her leadership. So Shannon is a toxicologist, but we've transitioned her over to water microbiology. And she administers the federal and state funds for the local health departments to monitor beaches. And she was the initiator of the qPCR labs for rapid monitoring on beaches. And now she helps direct the MINET, the Michigan Network for Environmental Health and Technology, which has 20 labs across the state. And so she's been a big supporter of bringing new technology and into practice for real action, at our beaches for protection of health in the state of Michigan. So Shannon, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for coming today. Phil Argeroff would have loved to have seen all of you and said hi to all of you. He's a big fan of all the wastewater utilities. Some of you you remember working with him, or you worked with him over the years. He's been with Eagle for a long time, and he's a big supporter of what the wastewater utilities do for us and all of our communities. So I want to say thank you to all of our wastewater utility operators and managers. Thank you for all the hard work you do throughout the year, regardless of pandemics. So he just apologizes for not being able to be here today. And then I want to thank the rest of you. I've been working with you with beaches for many, many years. And anytime that we can start looking for better solutions on how to get results quicker, you guys are all in. So I want to thank you for scratching your heads and trying to figure something out and trying to do this little test, and also for the students. If you're a student, would you just raise your hand real quick so we can thank you for coming here? Thank you so much. Yes, we are. So I hope you're being treated well. Please, we're so excited you're here at this conference because of the poster session. And really, the students are the most exciting part of all the work that we do, because we love watching all the little light bulbs go on all over your head and all the great ideas that you come up with. And it's just really exciting time. So thank you for coming to this conference. Thank you for being brave and courageous during the pandemic, saying, oh yeah, why don't we just go get some wastewater samples and look for a virus? Like, who thinks of that? This was an opportunity for all of you to stay home, for 2 weeks, stay home. No. All the labs here, you were trying to figure out a way to get permission to get back into your lab, to go to work. So I want to say thank you for doing that. And also thank you for there was some that had to make trips to Maryland to pick up some equipment. Some of you were chasing delivery trucks across campus. So there was a lot of crazy that was going on during the pandemic, during that pilot phase. But I want to say thank you, and I hope, your health didn't suffer just from the sheer amount of hours and work that you were doing, so, and the time away from your family. So I want to say thank you for that. But thank you for bringing this whole wastewater surveillance to a new level, especially here in Michigan. And your support for each other has been phenomenal. There's other places that do this, but they're all by themselves. So thank you for coming together, being willing to share your ideas and thoughts. And this is what this exciting conference is about. And for some of you, this is our second conference. Do you remember? October, during 2021, you guys were begging, we need to see each other. So thank you, Rick Radisky, wherever you are at Grand Valley State University, for hosting our first crash course in wastewater surveillance. So this one is a little bit more planned out, and we're excited to have you here. So thanks again for coming.
I'd like to see kind of who's in the room. We got a sense of the students, and as I've said, we have 24 student posters, so that's fantastic. But how many of you are here from the health department?
Hands up. High hands.
Oh,
All right.
we're getting our quantitative data this way, the old-fashioned way, you see. So how many are you from the city or the utility? Fantastic. Good, good. And then how many are from labs?
We got the lab.
Mm-hmm. And how many from academia? Fantastic, fantastic.